It looks like we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first Marketsmith Think webinar. My name is Nicole Chiarella, and I'm the Director of Corporate Marketing here at Marketsmith and your MC for today's session. So it looks like we have almost everybody. I'll give it just one more second. All right, let's get started. So to start off, I just want to go through a little housekeeping. Your control panel is in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you can't see it, it may be collapsed. So if you want to expand the control panel, click on the orange button with the white arrow to see more options. Everyone is automatically muted, so don't worry if your dog starts barking, we won't hear it. But your active participation is important during this section. You can ask questions throughout that we can answer towards the end of the session. So please input these questions by opening the questions module that you should see within your control panel. These questions will be sent directly to me without the ability for any attendees to see them. And like I said, we'll address them at the end of the session. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so we will be able to send out the recorded version within a few days to everyone who registered, as well as being linked on our social pages. So if everyone is ready, let's begin. Again, welcome everyone to our first Marketsmith Think webinar. We're very excited to kick off this series with a presentation on data science. And spoiler alert, it's not rocket science. So before I introduce you to today's presenter, for anyone that is not familiar with Marketsmith, we are an award-winning full-service marketing agency located in Whippany, New Jersey, with a proven history in driving growth for brands at all stages in their life cycle. From product launches to changing brand perception, we approach every campaign with transparency, end-to-end measurement, and ROI-driven goals. Okay, so enough about us. Now I'd like to introduce today's presenter, Marketsmith's Chief Innovation Officer, Carina Pologruto. The most complex problems never faze Carina. With a track record of assembling high-performing, dynamic teams to implement solutions and lead innovations, she's always ready for whatever challenge comes next. To Carina, challenge equals opportunity. Facing and overcoming challenges gives her team a chance to shine and opens up new paths to success for Marketsmith and our clients. Carina pushes the boundaries of Marketsmith's capabilities, exploring new technologies and testing cutting-edge platforms every day. As our CIO, she ensures that Marketsmith is constantly innovating, that products and services are powered by data and science, and that technology is maximized for the best possible outcomes for our clients. Carina is a shining example of an employee who's grown with Marketsmith. She's joined us in 2006 following early career work in retail advertising and catalog marketing. And she actually began as a client services manager and has steadily grown into an important leadership role at our agency. Carina's work with clients, strategic planning, and multi-channel campaigns prepared her well for her current role as Chief Innovation Officer. When she's not supporting worthy causes or testing the limits of marketing technology, Carina can be found traveling, reading, and enjoying the great outdoors, especially with her dog Remus. So without further ado, I will turn this over to Carina.
Thank you, Nicole, for that very kind intro. I just want to say it's really a pleasure to be here with you all today, and not just because I get to talk about data, which you now know is one of my favorite things. Let me tell you a little bit about Marketsmith's data science practice. Marketsmith has a really unique track record in using data to drive our clients' businesses. We were actually originally founded in consumer purchase and behavioral data, and our data science practice was incubated on segmentation, and persona clustering analyses. We then advanced into explanatory modeling to help drive that age-old question, which media is working, aka attribution. From there, we delved into predictive modeling to help create more refined goals and expectations for each channel and tactic that we use, further advancing the overall go-to-market strategy and creating the highest possible level of accountability for our clients and for ourselves. Today, data science is at the core of every dollar we place in market, grounded in historical learnings, market intel, consumer expectations, and measured against predictive analytics to constantly optimize for our clients. We're going to highlight just one use case where we've brought data science to the table to create a new platform from which to build a business model, and that's with a client called Lovesac. We've been working with Lovesac for about 5 years at this point, and for anyone who's not familiar with the brand, they're a truly innovative company that's really transformed the furniture category. They coupled innovative design with a really strong go-to-market presence that sought to win online and in-store. And they came to the table with ambitious plans to expand into new markets, channels, audience groups. And that required a really disruptive approach to media, but one that always has to be grounded in data. So we began with a challenge in mind. We must understand how media impacts in-store and online sales. And we set a goal to continue to scale the business while improving the overall ROI. Our first stages here were to evaluate historical data. We loaded several years of history into our proprietary measurement platform called Marketsmith IQ. From there, we leveraged our unique data science solution through media mix modeling to identify the core sales drivers of the business and use this to predict outcomes for future scenarios. And we knew based on immersion and reviewing the channel data that furniture shopping really began with inspiration, broader reach media like TV and social stories. But we also knew that paid search was a key part of their journey. So we knew that the model needed to account for every customer touchpoint possible. The result was a model that provided us insights into what was core to the business and what helped amplify those core tactics. And the number one thing that I can say about any model, any application of data science, is that you know you've landed on something when you make changes based on what the model tells you, and that business gets better. And as we rolled out changes in market based on what the model showed us, we were able to scale spending, drive a 70% increase in sales year over year, and help scale that ROI even higher. We saw growth at physical store locations, positive impact to awareness, a more efficient cost per click, and an overall increase in engagement via click-through rate. So what is data science? Data science is at its core using statistics, mathematics, and programming across different types of data sets to generate new insights. This is a really broad practice area. It means using statistics to create insights, and it's where the scientific method and data meet. Now, there's a lot of different levels of analysis and sophistication that live within the world of data science. It can be explanatory, it can be predictive, meaning it's a look back to say why, or a look forward to say what will happen. And it's an area we at Marketsmith are particularly passionate about, seeing around corners. The great thing about data science is that everyone can participate in it in different ways. You don't have to be a programmer. It doesn't have to be something that's intimidating or scary. There's a way to get involved and apply data science in any organization. Now, to move into the application of data science to your business model. Let's see if any of these questions sound familiar. Do you generate revenue across different sales channels, .com or Amazon, in-store, online, phone versus web? Are you seeking to understand the best way to spend your marketing budget? Do you rely on individual media platforms to measure performance today? Are you seeing a decrease in the ability to understand media as we see a progression towards a greater cookieless environment? Do you need to make a reduction to spending and you're not sure where to cut back? Or you need to decide where to spend your next best dollar? I'm willing to bet for many of you that sounds familiar. And we have a variety of different clients who've actually faced similar questions. And as customer regulations and intricacies of data proliferate, there's a need to create a consistency in how you look at the big picture. And we use data science to answer these questions through the development and implementation of media mix modeling. Media mix modeling or marketing mix modeling really brings together data across channels and revenue streams across history to identify how those tactics impact outcomes for a business. Today, we'll take you through some of the stages and things to look out for as you expand more into data science. Now, the top line stages of any data science project are fairly similar. It should always begin with design, then data integration, analysis or model run and feature engineering, final output, and finally strategic implications from that output. We'll take a deeper dive into those stages as you think about opportunities to start or expand data science within your own business. As we just touched upon, any data science project or model should start with design. Always design before you do. And that's the data practitioner's way of using that old adage, measure twice, cut once. Before you begin, you have to set forth a vision of what success looks like for you. What are you seeking to understand? With that in mind, you then want to make sure you've considered what has changed over time in the business model. Basically, any points that will help the team think about the data or the outcomes differently. As an example, did you have a price increase last year? Did you expand your territory? Did you introduce a new service offering or product category? Do you have significant promotional events that need to be considered? You have to give thought to what you see as the most important channels your business uses today, both sales channels and marketing channels or tactics, but also give consideration to your growth strategy. This would lead the team into understanding what data will be integral to bring into a model. And finally, consider external sources and impact. What do you believe impacts your customer and their decisions? This will help with the initial view of not only your own data to bring in, but what third-party data to integrate, like tracked competitive spend, weather, unemployment rates, housing indices, gas prices, and more. Based on that design, we then move into data integration and organization. This is make or break for any model. Data integration can be some of the heaviest lift of a model. You're looking to bring in sales or lead data across sales channels, online and offline. Your own website plus Amazon sales, resellers, retailers, lead generation sources like direct and affiliate, media and marketing data across channels and over time. And for those of you who live in marketing or media, you know that marketing data can be some of the messiest out there. If you're looking at disparate data across a large number of sources or channels, let me say you are not alone. That's something we have seen across the board when we're working with new clients. And we've actually built a platform specifically to ingest and cleanse data across that vast variety of different data sources. And that's Marketsmith IQ. And that's where we continue to invest time and talent today. Now, once you have your data integrated and centrally located, it should be organized or classified. You can really quickly get to dozens and dozens of different features that impact your model. Channels, promotions, locations, competitive insight, marketplace conditions, economic conditions, and more. The initial design we just talked about really helped to organize that data here. If social media is core to your go-to-market, you'll want to make sure that each channel and tactic are split out as you consider your model. But you may also want to classify them under a larger social bucket. If retail expansion is an integral part of your growth strategy, you'll want to ensure you're looking at number of doors in the historical data set separately. Once you have your data organized, it's time to run the first path of your model. I just made that sound so simple, right? Here's what's really exciting about data science, particularly as you're advancing in the practice. Data science is also art. There are a lot of different methodologies you can use, and I won't tell you which is right for your business model because that's really unique to you, your history, and your data. What's true today may not be the same tomorrow. And what's important is that you always think about what's ahead, what you're learning today, and what you'll want to learn in 3 months and 6 months. No model, no data science can ever be stagnant because your marketing isn't stagnant. Your customer is not stagnant. Based on today's inflation rates, we all know the economy is never stagnant. When you see your first model output, You want to evaluate confidence levels to decide if something needs to be changed. If you're seeing variables that are creating noise and what may need to be pulled out or combined with another tactic. And that's what we call feature engineering. What's important here is to keep an open mind to what the data is telling you. And at Marketsmith, this step for us is entirely about collaboration, where the data scientists, the marketers, the media practitioners, the brand owners really come together. Data science and modeling can sometimes be a black box, shrouded in mystery. And we work really hard to eliminate the clouds by bringing our clients into this stage, telling them what we're seeing, what changes we made because of it. And that really shapes our learning agenda that we build together for next iterations of the model. And after you've made adjustments to the features and had that collaboration, you rerun to determine output. Output itself is where data illustrates the path forward. And here we've shared a few examples. At top left, we can see what different components of the strategy are doing to drive the business and how they work together. At bottom left, we're showing an example of scalability that demonstrates risk versus reward, where we can scale a tactic higher versus where we may hit a saturation level and want to consider reallocating dollars. That's what shapes the type of views we've created at the right, showing the current go-to-market media mix, and then below that, the recommended go-to-market media mix across tactics for driving stores versus e-commerce. And that level of model output is where our data and media teams come together again to react, respond, and design. The model output ultimately drives our strategic playbook, illustrating opportunity for testing, scaling, reallocating, optimizing dollars beyond what an advertising platform can tell us, especially as we move more towards a cookieless environment. We understand core drivers of the business and what can scale together to amplify, and we design learning agendas and test panels that can help continue to pressure test the model. As we mentioned at the onset, the true test of a model, of any attribution methodology, is what happens to the business once you make changes based upon that model. And just one example from a modeling project we did, we were able to increase sales significantly by scaling the client's media investment, maintain ROI, and increase sales to 1.4x year over year. So that was a little bit of a whirlwind tour. And let me recap some of the process. Design. And I cannot emphasize that enough. The design is really where you set your intention and sets the stage for the project as it moves forward. Then data integration. And this can feel daunting. You should know that it does not need to be. That disparate data across many different sources is something that a lot of marketers and advertisers face today. And it's something that certainly we can help you with, or something that, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And once you get into your analysis and your model run and feature engineering, and I will say again, here's where you keep an open mind to what the data and the model will tell you. You may see things that inherently feel as though they make sense based on what you observe day to day within the business model. And you may say things that are surprising, and you have to be willing to explore that and expand beyond that and continue to ask questions of that data in order to enhance understanding. Those outcomes that you're looking at, that final output of what you're seeing, is something that should always lean in towards what should you seek to learn next. What questions do you have? How can you pressure test what's happening based on the outcome of this model? And ultimately, where can you adjust dollars from one channel to another? And what is important as you think about those strategic implications is, let's say a model output were to tell you to cut spending in one channel by half and reinvest completely in another. I hear your model, but you don't want to make any significant grand scale changes. You want to be able to step into that and validate from it. So it helps understand the business, it helps predict the outcomes, but you're also continuing to make adjustments in market and not just respond, right? To be able to help step into, let's say You want to adjust taking down that instead of by half, take it down by 15%, 20%, and see what happens as you start to scale one channel. And that's where the collaboration, again, becomes really important to be able to understand how the model then shapes your strategy forward. So that, my friends, was the highlights tour of approaching data science. Remember, design is important. Think about what you're trying to solve for, but don't boil the ocean. Start simple. Data organization is critical. Be open-minded. You may discover a whole new world in your very own data. And as my special gift to you, I will not be singing a whole new world today. If you have any questions or need some help getting started, be sure to let us know. Mining data to find opportunity is something we're incredibly passionate about. So I want to kick it back over to Nicole, see if there are any questions out there from the audience, and thank you again for the opportunity to share just a little bit about what we're passionate about here.
Thank you so much, Carina. That was awesome. So before we dive into a few questions here, we would like to invite you all to follow us on our social channels. We share tons of information, client updates, and agency happenings daily. Carina also is so kind to let us include her email. If there's any questions that you may have, feel free to shoot us some questions. But we do have a few questions that came in. So I'll start out with the first one. What type of tool do I need to clean my marketing data, and what type of resources are needed internally?
So great question. And there's actually a little bit of a spectrum of what you can do depending on how much data you have, how much you want to invest. So at its bare bones, what you could do is have teams manually adjust data in order to create consistency. Some of what we run into a lot as it relates to data is inconsistency in how something is named. And that proliferates based on how many channels you have, could be based on how many team members could be touching it, or even if you're using multiple different agencies and platforms. So that, lowest level of investment, the longest level of time investment is manually adjusting that data. There are other, tools that you can implement in order to create greater consistency moving forward in terms of how you name and how you treat data. From our side, what we saw actually years ago, we started our platform in 2011, is the proliferation of different nomenclatures, different kinds of data, and we created an error management and a data cleansing platform to be able to work with that type of information. And rather than having to deal with proliferating people to do some of that, manual effort, kind of that grunt work, we created this platform to be able to do that for us. So our teams are really focused on what does the data mean rather than where is it and what should it look like.
Awesome. So the next question here is, how do I know when it's time to commit to a media mix model?
Great question. So I would say, basically the way we start looking at this is if you are both online and offline, if you are driving multiple different sales channels, that's the time to start evaluating. And I think there are a lot of different options as you think about stepping into data science and into modeling, but it doesn't mean that it has to be extraordinarily expensive, right? It's something that we actually offer to many of our clients as a value add because we believe in it so much. Whereas on the other side of that, if you were really dealing with a digital only strategy driving e-com, the decision point there, the tipping point is if you're using something like, the advertising platforms themselves, or even a digital attribution tool like a DCM, it's when you are continuing to make decisions based on what those platforms tell you, and you don't see the overall level of the business improving. You might see one channel improving, but if you don't see that all boats are rising when you make a change in media, that's ultimately what I would consider the tipping point of it's time to think about something else.
All right. And the last question we have here, which is, I think, in a similar vein, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but the question is, will Marketsmith work with us to evaluate our data and organize, or would we only engage you when we are ready for a model?
I love that question. So we absolutely work to help organize data. It doesn't have to be, hey, we've got all the data and we're ready. It's actually something that we really love getting involved in the early stages in design in order to kind of hear from the business owners, from the practitioners themselves, what they see, think, and feel, and the obstacles that they're seeking to overcome. And that way we can help create that data structure to be able to answer those questions more easily. So the easy way to answer that question is we can absorb any type of data. We're really passionate about doing that on behalf of our clients and for ourselves. And it's something we just love being involved in.
And we had another one sneak in here. How does a media mix model take into consideration offline data like TV or billboards out of home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So there's two different ways that you can look at bringing that into a model. You can look at your overall spend levels of what's happening in these channels and organize the data together, right? Of how much am I spending on television in this week? Top line. You can also dig deeper and say, well, how much am I spending in each day part of TV, or which, cable versus broadcast, or unwired versus specific local market. There's a lot of different ways you can slice that, which would go back to design and how you've gone to market. You can look at the spend and impressions of each in order to bring that in. The important thing to do is to normalize your online and offline channels to the same basis of evaluation, whether that's dollars or impressions. Not every impression has the same value. Not every impression has the same cost. So that's how we tend to bring in those types of offline data, whether it's out of home, print, direct mail, SMS, which yes is also digital, but comes back to impressions, as well as TV, radio, and so on.
Great. So that's all for our questions. I just wanted to say thank you, Carina. This has been super informative and a great kickoff to our Marketsmith Inc. webinar series. And thank you again to everyone who attended. We will be having these webinars monthly moving forward. So we hope to see you all in our next webinar. We're going to be talking about algorithms and social media and how to understand paid versus organic and making it work for you and your brand. So that is July 14th. And again, we would love to see you all there. And just a reminder, a recording of this will be sent out this week. And thank you again for joining.